boys and girls. I hope you're doing well. I'm shooting today's lesson here in our living room so Tucker, my son, can stay asleep and I not make too much noise. Now, today's lesson is about Jesus healing a centurion's servant. Now, two things about today's lesson before we jump into it. One is that the Jews did not like the Roman soldiers. A centurion was a Roman commander, so he had at least 80 to 100 troops under his command. And they were stationed in the town of Capernaum, which we'll find out is exactly where Jesus was going through when this healing took place. Now, I don't have a Roman soldier helmet, which would be pretty cool, actually. Maybe Miss Crystal will get me one for Christmas. But I do have a Yankee Civil War hat. Looks pretty goofy, doesn't it? So we're going to use this hat to show the Roman soldier in today's story. Now, Jesus, of course, will be played by my Teddy. Say hi, Teddy. He's shy. He'll start talking later. Now, another weird thing about today's story is that Jesus never actually meets the Roman soldier, the centurion, or his servant. Never once do they go in the same room. Jesus doesn't lay a hand on him. And tell you what, I won't spoil that part of the story. Let's just jump into it and you can see for yourself. You ready to go, Teddy? I think he is. All right, let's do it. Today's story begins in a town called Capernaum. Now, this town would have been very familiar to Jesus. He would have traveled through it quite a few times in his ministry. Luke tells us at the beginning of chapter 7, when Jesus got to Capernaum this time, several leaders of the Jewish community came and asked him for a favor. You see, there was a Roman soldier who they all liked, which was weird because the Jews did not like the Roman soldiers, but this Roman soldier was kind. Now, kindness wasn't something Roman soldiers were known for, but this leader, it says in Luke, contributed much to the Jews in that town of Capernaum, and had made it possible for them to build their own synagogue, which is a church, what we would call a church. Now, this centurion's servant was sick, and he really valued this servant. This guy was very helpful to him. And the Jews in the town wanted Jesus to heal this guy on behalf of the centurion. After the Jewish leaders were done telling Jesus about how great a guy this centurion was, Jesus decided to go to the centurion's house to heal the servant. So they began walking. And when they got close to the centurion's house, they were met by a few people. When the centurion saw that Jesus was getting close, he told some of his friends to go meet Jesus before he got to his house. So he sent these two friends off. The centurion's two friends did as they were asked and stopped Jesus before he got to his house. And he told them that the centurion didn't feel worthy enough to have Jesus actually come into his house. In fact, the centurion asked his friends to pass on the message, letting Jesus know that the centurion knew all he had to do was say the words and his servant would be healed. Now Jesus, along with the Jewish leaders and probably other people following along, was surprised at the centurion's faith. We'll talk about why here in just a moment. So Jesus said that he would be healed and turned around to go back to the city. The centurion's two friends turned around as well and went back to let the centurion know what Jesus had said. When the two friends went back to tell the centurion what Jesus had said, they saw his servant sitting up and well. He was healed. The centurion was happy. was a pretty cool miracle. The servant was healed, he didn't die, and he was able to continue on helping his master. Now, what's special about this miracle? Jesus actually tells the Jewish leaders and the other people in the crowd that were following him to the centurion's house that when he found out the centurion didn't need Jesus to show up, that all he had to do was say the words, that such faith, that Jesus had not found such faith even in Israel. Now, what Jesus is saying, sorry, I put my Bible down. What Jesus is saying is that the centurion didn't need him to come and wave his hands or lay his hands on the servant. He didn't need him to say a long prayer. All he needed to do was have Jesus say the words. He trusted Jesus. He didn't need to make a show out of it. That he knew that the centurion knew that all Jesus needed to do was say the words. Now, do we trust Jesus like that? I don't know. Sometimes it's hard for me. But let's pray and ask God to show us how we can trust him, how we don't need Jesus to do huge signs and miracles, that he is faithful and that he will take care of us. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you back next Sunday.